Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Katie is gone tonight, so Mindy, will you, as our assistant clerk, fill-in clerk, please do a roll call.
Councilwoman Gottschall,
Here.
Councilman Duran, Councilman Jackson,
Here.
Councilman Looper,
Here.
Councilwoman Camp,
Here.
Councilman Tucker,
Here.
Mayor Nichols.
Here. And council, just so Councilman Duran did notify me, he has a new addition to the family, and he's spending time with Mom and the little one, and asked to be excused. So I'll take a motion to excuse Councilmember Duran.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Jackson made a motion to excuse Councilmember Duran, seconded by Councilwoman Camp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Duran is excused. I'd like to call the June 24th, 2025 Craig City Council meeting to order. First item is the consent agenda, approval of the minutes from June 10th, 2025 regular council meeting, approval of the bills through June 19th in the amount of $455,818.30. Council, what's your pleasure?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilman Looper made a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Councilman Tucker. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passed as presented. Item 2, approval of the agenda for June 24th, 2025 regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Camp made a motion to approve the agenda, seconded by Councilman Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Presentations, item 3. Kevin Kimball, representing the Adams Group, will present the audited 2025 financials for the city of Craig. He's on Zoom? He's not on yet. Okay, why don't we move to Robert McDonald from OLC, will present on the Craig Sports Complex project, including introducing his team and partners, providing a summary of scope for the project, recapping community engagement sessions, and outlining next steps. Robert, welcome again. Not long ago, I saw you gentlemen, so.
Good evening, council. So over the last couple days, we've had some great conversations in regards to the Craig Sports Complex, community recreation, stakeholders, and what that means moving forward to recreation. So Bob McDonald and Darren Barr, with Ballard and King, have been up here. So Bob's with OLC Architects and Darren with Ballard and King. So, thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit. So, yeah, thanks for having us here this evening. I just wanted to introduce our team and let you know that we're kicking off the project, the feasibility study and concept design for the Craig Sports Center. So here with me is my colleague from OLC, Brian Beckler, my partner firm. And then also we have Steve Byerly with Ballard King and Associates. And of course, you heard from Darren already. So we're excited to be here and meet a lot of the different community members and start off this project. So if you could just advance the slide, please. So yeah, we're just going to go over really quickly. So, you know, what are we really doing here? Like, let's cover what the scope of work of this entire process entails. And then we'll dive in a little bit deeper into phase one that we're in right now, which is that market analysis and needs assessment and programming piece. And then we're happy to answer any kind of questions that you might have. So next slide, please. Okay, so we've just got 9 tiles here to kind of briefly explain the entire process that we're going through right now. So we're right here in that overview and kickoff meeting kind of phase right now, and then we're starting that market analysis and update. And Darren's going to talk a little bit more about what that involves. But that's all going to lead us to this recreation needs assessment. So trying to determine, exactly what components of a sports center would be appropriate for the city of Craig and the community. And that's going to lead us to the facility program. So that's a list of architectural spaces and their sizes that we're going to incorporate into this sports center that makes sure that it fits the community's needs. We'll also go through a detailed site analysis of the park site down there at Woodbury Park, and then we'll head into schematic design. So we'll develop the floor plans of the facility, the exterior elevations, the look and feel and aesthetics. We'll have some 3D renderings and some animations so that everyone can really visualize what this type of facility will look and feel like here in the community. Once we have that, then we can follow up with a cost estimate of the capital investment. And while we're doing that as well, Darren and his group are going to be determining the ongoing operational costs and do a pro forma, so sort of a business plan of what it's going to take to keep the facility open and operational for the duration. Then we'll also look into some funding opportunities, all those different sources of how to pay for this facility. And then we'll make all of our final recommendations into a final report that you all can review and talk about and proceed with in the future. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing here. So next slide, please. So yeah, that leads us into just phase one of what we're doing, that market analysis and needs assessment and program development. So I'm going to turn it over to Darren here. Next slide.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully this, didn't have to lower it too much. Hopefully this goes ahead and works. I'm trying to make sure I look at it. So I think one of the things that's important when we go ahead and we do this market analysis is we're going to take out an approach and apply multiple layers to try and help understand what's a need versus what's a want. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about demographics. We're going to use participation data that the Recreation and Parks Department currently has. We're going to look at some national trends. We take that information and we go ahead and we start to layer that with the feedback that we get from the public. So we take a very broad approach and then go ahead and narrow that down, because the most important thing is that regardless of the trends that are going on, we want to be responsive to those, but we want to make sure that we're responding to what the community is looking for and what they want out of this process. So that's sort of those key elements that leads us towards that needs assessment in those project recommendations or program recommendations. So I could have read that word for word, but assuming you all can. So again, that's sort of a nutshell on what we're doing right now, and it's the first, if you're looking at it and thinking about it, maybe like a layered cake, it's the first layer, it's the base layer that we go ahead and then build upon. So anyways, thank you.
And so also as part of our outreach, starting last night, we had our first public meeting. Then today we had various stakeholder group meetings. Started with kind of an open house at the coffee shop. That was great. We've had really good attendance at all of these meetings. We had detailed stakeholder group meetings then by invitation. And so we talked to a lot of different folks and specific users of the facilities. So getting some real good feedback. But we also, we're taking a multi-pronged approach to gathering that kind of public input. And that will involve setting up a website and doing some kind of informal surveys and polling. You know, this won't be a statistically valid survey, but we'll put some questions up on that website and people can respond and ask questions, and we'll kind of build this, frequently asked questions and answers, just trying to get the truth out there, to dispel any kind of rumors that might come up, and have a resource for people to go to online. So that website is coming. Eventually we'll have a QR code that everyone can scan and get to that website. Ryan has agreed to post a link on the Parks and Recreation website for us, and put that out on their social media. And so we're doing the best to reach out to everybody in the community, and we'll have that in bilingual things for the Hispanic populations and things like that. So we should have a very thorough picture of the community once we're done. So with that, I think that's all we had. So thank you again for having us here. Happy to answer any kind of questions that anybody has or comments.
Council, questions? Good presentation today. I went to the 2:00 session. It's very informative. Interested in seeing how the plan works out and what amenities we can, want and needs are different. Yeah, so,
Absolutely.
right. Cool, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. And do I see Mr. Kimball yet?
Yes.
Okay. So then we'll go back to item A. Kevin Kimball, representing the Adams Group, LLC, will present the audited 2024 financials for the city of Craig. Mr. Kimball, you're on.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Appreciate everybody's time. As far as walking through the financial statements, Peter and Mindy, do you guys have it in the packet on the screen, or would you like me to share mine?
If you want to go ahead and share your screen, it's easier. That way you can control the flipping through the slides.
That's perfect. All right. Let me just go ahead and pull these up and make sure I'm sharing my screen for everybody. Okay. Mindy, did that pull up?
It has not shown up yet. Oh, there it's coming.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I promise I'm not going to go through all 71 pages of this document. For the city's 2024 audit, there are 3 separate reports that we issued. The first one relates to the opinion over the financial statements. And so this one just relates to the balances that are on the financial statements. And once again, for the city of Craig, we're issuing an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest form of opinion that we can issue as independent auditors over financial statements. And so that's what's called out here in this first section under the opinions. What's also included in the financial statement opinion is the basis for our opinion. And so this outlines that, for the city in 2024, we issued our opinion under governmental auditing standards. And so this is more of an enhanced version of a audit opinion than an organization or a city that didn't have to go through a federal compliance single audit. And so we did conduct our audit under those governmental auditing standards, which involve a more enhanced review of internal controls as they relate to the financial statements themselves, as well as the controls over, the federal grants that the city was administering during the fiscal year. What's also included in the opinion are the responsibilities of management of the city as it relates to the financial statements, as well as our responsibilities as independent auditors. For us as independent auditors, we're required to obviously exercise professional judgment, professional skepticism. As a part of the audit, we identify risks of material misstatement, whether it be certain transaction cycles or certain financial statement line items. And obviously, we have to review the controls surrounding those transaction cycles to assess if there's larger risk for a certain revenue stream or a certain payable stream for the city. And that factors into the type of testing that we do in our audit. And then what's also in the opinion, there's not only the basic financial statements and the footnotes. Within the financial statements, there's required supplementary information, and this would be management's discussion and analysis, the budget to actual schedules for the major special revenue funds, and then it also alludes to the supplementary information. And so in the city's financial statements, this would be the non-major governmental fund budget to actual schedules, as well as the water, wastewater, solid waste budget to actual schedules. And then because the city incurred federal expenses as it relates to federal grants above $750,000, what's also included in the supplementary information is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And this just outlines that specific schedule, the various funding sources from all the federal agencies, and it breaks it out by the total dollars spent in the fiscal year for each of those, different awarding agencies and the individual grants during the fiscal year. The final thing that our audit opinion is required to allude to is the reports under governmental auditing standards. As I talked about, here on the first page, when we have to issue an audit under governmental auditing standards, I talked about a more enhanced look at internal controls, and we actually issue an opinion over the major federal program that was subject to audit. And so this paragraph here just alludes to the two other reports that are included at the back of this packet. And those reports talk about internal controls over the financial statements or financial reporting, and then obviously the opinion over the major program that was required to be tested for the city. But to sum it up, once again, for the city, an unmodified opinion or the cleanest form of an opinion that we can issue as independent auditors. And then obviously the breakout of our responsibilities, the city's responsibilities, and then it just highlights at a really high level some of the other information that's included within the financial statements. Any questions about the opinion itself? Right, hearing radio silence. Like I said, I won't go through the financial statements in a really detailed manner. One change to the financial statements compared to what has been shown in previous years, there was a new accounting standard required to be adopted for all governmental entities, not just the city of Craig, and it was GASB Statement 101. And what GASB Statement 101 did is it essentially brought uniformity to how compensated absences are reported for governmental entities. And so compensated absences encompass vacation time or PTO, sick pay, and other types of paid leave. And so historically, the requirements for what was captured in the financial statements were a little bit more gray. A lot of governments only showed the paid vacation, that rolls over would be required to be paid out to employees upon termination or an employee's decision to leave. And so now this standard encompasses not only that, somebody's total hours times their pay rate at the time they leave, but it also factors in, a portion of that payroll tax as well as sick time as it relates to each government's policy. And so there was a slight increase in the total compensated absence balance shown in 2024 compared to previous years, but not a material impact to the financial statements. That's just the one major change that was required to be adopted. And once again, from a materiality standpoint, not a major impact to the financial statements. It was just the one new accounting standard that the city was required to implement during 2024. Mindy, Peter, City Council, any questions about the financial statements you guys have had in hand for a couple weeks before I dive into the reports related to the governmental auditing standards reports?
Council? Not seeing any. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the first report that we're going to go through, and once again, what I've flipped through very, very quickly are the financial statements themselves. Obviously, that includes the basic financial statements being the government-wide, all the government funds combined, all of the enterprise or business type funds combined, and then, the footnotes to the financial statements, as well as all these budget to actual schedules for each of the individual funds. At the back of the report is the single audit section. And so the first report that I'm going to go through under governmental auditing standards is the report on internal controls over financial reporting. And so under governmental auditing standards, like I alluded to earlier, we are required to take a more enhanced review of internal controls as they relate to the financial statements. And so this isn't an opinion on the city's internal controls, but it alludes to the fact that we did, under governmental auditing standards, take a more in-depth review of the internal controls, for the financial statements, whether it's year-end accruals, bank reconciliation processes, the controls surrounding cash payments going out the door from the city. And so if in our testing of those controls, we had any major audit adjustments or any controls that didn't result in an audit adjustment, but we saw gaps or weaknesses in those control, we would be required to report them in this report as either a material weakness or a significant deficiency. And in our 2024 testing, there were no, weaknesses in internal controls or audit adjustments that we came across that were required to be reported as either a material weakness or a significant deficiency. And so there are no matters to report within this separate report under governmental auditing standards. The third and final formal report that we're issuing is the, our opinion over the major federal program. And so because the city spent at least $750,000 of federal grant funds in 2024, they're required to go through a single audit. And for the city this year, there was only one major federal program. And so this first paragraph talks about our opinion. Under 2 CFR 200 or federal guidelines, there are set audit procedures that we're required to perform. And those audit procedures, this basis for opinion right here, are how we reach in over the city's compliance with the major compliance requirements of any given federal program. And for 2024, it's an unmodified opinion over the major federal program that was subject to testing. And, similar to that first opinion that we went through over the financial statements, it breaks out city's management's responsibilities versus our auditor's responsibilities over the opinion over material compliance with the federal program. But I think the key takeaway here is unmodified opinion over the major federal program, which means that we didn't find any question costs, or another way to put it would be federal dollars spent on something that wasn't the intent of the federal program. Also, as a part of this, we're required to look at controls over outgoing costs for federal funds, or reporting requirements, or requests for reimbursement requirements. And as a part of those tests, we not only check for compliance, but we verify and we test that there's a control to mitigate non-compliance. And so it's a dual purpose testing when it comes to federal programs. And for the major federal program that we tested in 2024, we had no control matters or no compliance matters to report. And so I know I breezed through 3 different reports, and what I'm going to scroll through is that schedule of expenditures of federal awards that we talked about earlier, and then I'm going to show council a summary that really does a really nice job of showing all 3 reports and the results of all 3 reports as it relates to the audit. And so this is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, and once again, this breaks out the federal agency, which is the first 2 digits, and then the various grants that were awarded. And here's the total amount expended by the city. And so during 2024, this was the major federal program that was required to be tested. And so that's what's going to be summarized here in this report. And so at the back, 1 page from the end, what I would call people out to, if you're trying to see, all right, there's 3 auditors' opinions, how do we get the summary of how the audit went and if there were any findings, it would be this schedule, which is the schedule of finding and question costs. And to sum up the 3 reports that we went through, over the financial statements, it's an unmodified opinion right here. The report over internal controls over financial reporting, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. And then our report over non-compliance or the internal controls over the federal major programs, it was an unmodified opinion, and there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that were identified as a part of that testing. And it also calls out the major program that was required to be tested. And then the final document that kind of sums up the audit results or findings would be the second page of the schedule of findings and question costs. For the financial statement, it discloses there were no findings. Same thing with the audit over the major federal program, no findings or matters that were required to be reported in accordance with 2 CFR 200. One of the required line items when you're doing an audit under governmental auditing standards is a schedule of prior year findings. We did have one finding last year that related to cutoff of grant revenues in relation to the 60-day period of availability. It's not a major finding, but the city immediately implemented compensating controls. And during our testing this year, those controls were implemented effectively. And so we do not have a repeat finding. The matter has been resolved and the city has controls to mitigate a similar finding going forward. So those are the 3 main reports, obviously financial statements included. Before I walk through our, required letter or communication to the city council as it relates to the audit process as a whole, I just wanted to pause and see if there were any questions about the reports that we went through.
I guess to sum it up so far, we have taken corrective action from last year, which is great on the minor finding, and no weaknesses or adjustments. So I want to commend Peter and Mindy, our staff. Great job so far. So thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Absolutely. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, council, no other questions? I don't see any, so go ahead.
Perfect. And I would agree with your summary. That's definitely the best way to sum it up. This final letter that I'm going to go through, as independent auditors, we have requirements under auditing standards, and one of them is a conclusion communication to governance, whether that be a city council, board of directors, et cetera. And so what's included in this letter would be significant audit related items. Obviously, the first one we allude to are major accounting practices or estimates. And during 2024, as we discussed earlier, the city, like all other governmental entities, was required to adopt a new accounting standards. And the result of the standard was an increase in what's reflected as compensated absences. The city came up with the calculation. It was, it followed the guidelines of the accounting standard, and the city properly adopted it. And so it's just required to be called out in this letter as a new accounting standard that was adopted in the current year. Some of the other significant accounting policies or matters would be estimates. In financial statements, there's always going to be estimates. And the key estimates that impact the city's financial statements would be the amortization of capital assets over useful life. The city chooses useful life for each type of assets, whether it's trucks, vehicles, buildings, etc. And those useful lives fall within industry norms, and that's one of the things that we're required to review, and they fall within the industry norms. So management's estimates meet the definition that's required for governmental entities. One of the other key estimates is obviously the accrued compensated absences. The estimate of what will be paid out in the next year or long term based off of the employees at the city's accrued compensation time, whether that be PTO, sick time, as well as the correlating payroll taxes. When you do that calculation at a snapshot being the end of the year, it is an estimate based off of actual data, but what will actually be required to be paid out inherently is an estimate. And once again, that estimate and the basis for that estimate falls within industry norms. What's also included in this letter is if we had any difficulties performing our audit, it would be disclosed here in this letter. Happy to report, in our multiple years working with the city, everybody that we work with at the city, quick to respond. We enjoy working with them. So happy to report no difficulties in us performing the audit. We're also required to call out any corrected or uncorrected misstatements. And so essentially what this means is the city gives us a final close trial balance. We work through our audit procedures, and if there are changes to those balances that were presented to us at the start of the audit, they're alluded to here. And so we do have a few minor adjustments based off of the original information received, and they're just alluded to here in this letter. Once again, none of those adjustments during the audit process resulted in a material weakness or a significant deficiency. Under auditing standards, they're just required to be alluded to here in this paragraph. As far as any other audit findings or issues, we didn't have anything that came to the level of a material weakness or a significant deficiency. As far as, other matters, what's included in this letter is it talks about the required supplementary information. And so management's discussion and analysis, that nice narrative summary at the beginning of the packet, what this letter outlines is that, we do audit the financial statements and all the major opinion units. And as it relates to the required supplementary information, that information and the format that it's in, it's not required to go through full audit procedures. It's more of an in relation to opinion. And so the information that's included in those schedules is compared by our team to the audited schedules that we performed our audit over. And so that's what's included here in the other matters paragraph. It just outlines the different levels of work that we perform over the basic financial statements versus the supplementary information and the required supplementary information. And so very, very clean audit for 2024. From our side of the coin, we can't thank Mindy, Michelle, Peter, Amanda. I know I'm leaving out names. It was a very, very fluid audit process, and we appreciate it, and we appreciate working with the city, and we're very happy to be able to issue 3 clean opinions. We have no major findings or quote unquote red flags to report. And so I just want to thank the city for their efforts. We know that audits are, cumbersome, time consuming, and it takes a lot of effort. But from our side of the coin, very, very clean process, and happy to report it for 2024.
Thank you. Council, any follow-up?
No, I just commend Mindy and her team and Peter.
Yep.
Great work.
Well, Mr. Kimball, great news. I'm certainly glad it's not the other way. So, Mindy, you've been here a year and a little bit over a year, and she's done an outstanding job. So good job. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kevin.
Anything else you guys need from me?
No, sir. That's good. Unless Mindy has
Right.
something. No? Mindy, you good? Okay.
Thank you again.
Of course, appreciate everybody's time tonight, and I hope you have a good rest of the week.
Okay. Next item 4, City Manager's Report. Mr. Brixis.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My favorite part of the audit is on page 4, where it says the general fund reported a fund balance of $23,380,491, an increase of $3,490,000, almost $2,000. That's an increase of almost $3.5 million over the prior year.
I have that highlighted to point out, but thank you for doing that.
Okay.
$3.5 million increase.
And I have to say thanks to our finance director, Mindy Elliott, and her staff did a phenomenal job. But I also have to recognize our staff leads, Carl's here. What's your name? Ryan's here. But all our staff leads are fiscally responsible. They use restraint. And I especially have to thank the city council because you folks, you set the agenda for us and you determine which projects will go forward. And the audit results are largely as a result of your efforts as well. So thank you for your guidance on that. So first off, I'd like to introduce our new Public Works Director, Danny Paul, and ask him to come up to the podium if he would and say a few words to council and talk about his background a little bit.
Good evening, and thank you for having me down tonight. I'm pleased to be here, finally. It's been a while coming, and I'm looking forward to serving you, the council, as well as Peter, the city manager, and the citizens of Craig as your new Public Works Director. For what I understand, it's been a little more than a decade since this position has been filled, so I'm very excited to jump into all the fun things you guys are doing here in town. My name's Daniel Paul. I go by Danny. You can call me either of those. I'll respond. Quick background on me. I was born and raised in Rapid City, South Dakota, where I enjoyed and participated in athletics and outdoor recreation. Took an interest in mathematics and engineering, so I went to school at the University of Wyoming, where I got my bachelor's in science degree in civil engineering. I was hired right out of college by the city of Steamboat Springs, where I worked in the engineering division, which is housed under Public Works for nearly 20 years. And so that exposed me to a wide variety of public works related projects and different efforts that the city, the bustling city of Steamboat, is doing over there. Just last week, my wife and I closed on a home, and so we're now here in Craig. We're now official residents, and we're looking very much forward to living and enjoying this wonderful community you have. As Peter mentioned, I will be the Public Works Director, so I will oversee the Road and Bridge and Solid Waste Department, as well as the water and wastewater treatment and distribution collection systems, and then as well as the Building, Planning, and Zoning Department. So a lot of responsibility, but a challenge I'm very much looking forward to. Should any of you have questions for any of those departments, Public Works related, you're welcome to direct those to me. If you're seeking information, my office is just a few doors down from Peter, and I'd be, love to help as I can. But realizing I am just a week into the job, so I'm learning a lot as well about the town and everything that you have going on. So if you have any questions for me now, I'm welcome. I'll take those now. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to Peter.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Council?
It's been great so far. Appreciate it.
Well, I have to say, I saw on the City of Steamboat Springs website, they're hiring for a civil engineer. I don't feel too bad for him. But welcome.
I would rather be here. Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, so we're really happy Danny's here. I know all the staff have been unanimous in that choice, and we also had council participate in the interview process. One of the most important aspects of the work that we do is hiring the best talent we can in those positions, and it shows in our staff each and every day. And so I appreciate Danny's efforts, and we're looking forward to a long and prosperous relationship here. So I sent out a list of the grants in that portfolio that Melanie had put together. I hope you received that. I'm sorry about the lateness of my report, but I spent the last 4 days in Nebraska helping my mother, and it took me a while to catch up to a few things. But that shows that we have $18,611,000 outstanding grant. Some of that activity has been consumed. Not a lot, though. We still have a long ways to go, and a lot of grant funds to expend over the next couple of years. I also saw this weekend a number of back and forth communications on pickleball, and the discussions that council and residents and citizens were involved with this weekend. And I met with Ryan out at the court. We looked at the surface and talked about things. I think Ryan's pretty familiar with it, so I'm going to ask him to maybe just say a few words about where this is headed, we think.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Peter. So in 2018, just a brief history. In 2018, we resurfaced the top layer of the courts, which was needed. I didn't know how long prior to that they've been done. So there's some deficiencies within the courts, some cracking, things like that. But I think on, as far as playability and things of that nature, there's probably more going on as far as the sub base. So potentially recommend probably discussing budget would be the best route. Any questions?
Well, I just think the letters I've received, they just didn't want to get lost with the new sports complex being a priority. And I guess we'll have a lot more discussion. Come budget time, you'll have some estimates for us, I hope. Or, okay.
You bet.
When is the next Parks and Rec board meeting?
Wow. It's in July.
Perfect.
It's the second week in July.
I just wonder if, it's not my decision, but maybe we invite, if there's like a lead of that group or something, to come and receive an update that we are listening to their concerns. Because I don't feel like we want to lose their support right now.
Absolutely. You bet. Do that.
Good point.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
You bet.
Okay. We also, as you know, we've had a couple of issues with high water over the past few months, and Carl's been dealing with that at the intake structure and trying to complete a project to mitigate that issue, which has affected his backwash ponds and potentially could close the plant. We also have the golf course has been an issue since the new structures for the Whitewater Park have gone in. SGM has been hired to do surveys out there to help us come up with a plan to mitigate that, and I'm officially turning that project over to Danny at this point. But so future updates will be from him on that project as we get into this thing. But Danny had talked to SGM today, and they indicated they should have some recommendations at the latest about July 11th, I think, for that. For their recommendations. So we'll look forward to seeing those. Our staff attorney, I, and a few others have been meeting with Cornerstone, and Yampa Valley Community Foundation meeting will happen this Friday. We're talking about things that we can do to improve our activity at the townhomes, and we have some great ideas and some great offers so far from these various entities. I don't want to talk about them until we firm up these different aspects of that some of the discussions that we're having with those entities. Yampa Valley Community Foundation has agreed to pull their finance people together, and their objective is, of course, they want their bridge loan repaid, but more importantly to them, at least from Tim Wolganot, is that the project is successful. If you've been by the project, it is now complete as of about 2 weeks ago. Landscaping, it looks beautiful. I wish we could have come out of the gate like that, but it's hard to plant those things in December, January, February, and it just took a while to get all that put together. But we'll have a lot more discussion on that, and we'll probably have to have a community or a Craig Housing Authority meeting here probably before the next council meeting to talk about some of the direction that we think will come out of these meetings with. So it's in line with some of the discussions we've been having, but we're trying to mitigate some of the things the council would rather not see. And so that's all I'll say for now until we have more definitive information. Okay? And I think that's all I have. Any questions?
Peter, it's in your report. You didn't really talk about it. The IGA with the airport, it's back in the county's court, and we haven't heard anything from Tony since they redid it. That's
Well-
the gist of this?
It depends on who you talk to. I talked to Heather yesterday and today. She says that we're waiting for their response. I talked to Candace this morning. She thought they were waiting for our response. So she sent the red lines back out today, and we'll have, hopefully we'll have this thing finalized pretty soon. But they were not happy about the original version that was passed by the council. That didn't, well, they didn't think adequately considered the ownership issues that we had brought up, and so they wanted more definition in that agreement. Apparently, we thought it was complete, and when they received it, they had, well, the airport manager actually stalled it and said she felt it was important to fix some of those things before passing the IGA.
And Randy, I can speak to that too. Tony has part of it was the back and forth, and then part of it was I had thought I had sent him a few weeks ago the red line version back, but it was in my drafts today when I found it. I don't know where there was no substantive, honestly, changes. There was just some requests for additional wording. So there's no major changes to the agreement. I think the concern was if times became tough, they didn't want the city to not continue to contribute to the cost sharing of the airport. So there was some concern as to the city approving in the budget session the expenses, but then I think after explanation as to we do that for every department. We can't just blindly and blanketly give the airport a budget and not give council the ability to approve that budget. I think there was a clearer meeting of the minds. So there's no major changes. I think it tracks pretty closely to what we originally had, to be quite honest with you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Heather, I forgot you were online. I'd let you do
It's okay.
it from the beginning.
Just saw it pop up. Yeah, so. Hi, Heather.
I stay hidden until you guys need me.
Well, you're on the agenda later, so good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you. And I'm at CML for council's knowledge. I'm not just skipping out and zooming in.
All righty. Any other questions for our city manager? Hearing none, we'll go to council reports. Mr. Tucker.
I just attended the sports complex meeting last night, and it was a nice turnout, and I thought a good start. So other than that, I think everybody else attended at some point, other ones, so it was good.
That's it?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Camp?
I also attended part of that meeting last night, and then wasn't able to make the meeting this afternoon because Randy and I were sitting in on interviews for the master planner for the business park. And I was out of town for part of the last few weeks, so that's all I've got.
Miss Councilwoman Gottrell?
Yeah, I just have a few things. I did attend Whittle of the Wood on Friday and Saturday. I do want to commend Ryan and his team and all the volunteers. Despite the wind, I feel it was still really well attended. I attended the car show. They also had, the wind knocking tree limbs down in parks and all those types of things. You guys did great. There was Triple Crown that you had to manage as well, and I just commend your team for all of that. I attended the legislation town hall last night with Randy. There's just a couple highlights I have, and then I'll let Randy hit on the rest. There was one House Bill 1085, which was just a bill to support rural hospital county boards. And it was really interesting. Dr. Alan Reichus actually helped with that bill. So I thought that was something to highlight, as well as a pharmacy bill that I didn't catch the number on, but it actually the idea came from Bob Biglio's in South Route. There was a House Bill 1320, which will increase the amount of money that school districts are given, and Moffat County will have a $400,000 increase to their budget from that bill. So that was really great news. Let's see. that's about it for that. They did provide a couple updates on wolves, and there was some conversations around Senate Bill 3, as well as House Bill 1312. I also attended the engagement session last night with Luke and Andrea, and then I attended the one this afternoon as well with the mayor and some Parks and Rec staff and the board. I will attend the chamber mixer this Thursday, and I also received an invite to attend the Memorial Regional Health Strategic Planning Community Roundtable discussions. So I do plan to attend the one on July 17th. And I've already talked to Chris about this, but I'm not able to attend the next council meeting or workshops, but I might be able to join those remotely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Jackson?
All right, on June 14th, I went to Rock Out in the Park. It was a really nice event also, pretty busy. Looks like they earned quite a bit of money, like 10,000 mentoring and empowerment programs. And then Moffett County Youth Action Council raised $600 running a dunk tank that I participated in, unfortunately. And
Was it warm?
no, it was nice weather-wise, but
Okay.
too much swimming for me. I also wanted to thank Ryan for this weekend and all your staff and all the city employees that helped and volunteered, just working all the extra time with everything going on and definitely that wind. So appreciate all the hard work you guys do and trying to keep that event going. Went to CNCC. They're working on the marketing study for their housing. They decided they approved some money to do a marketing study since kind of a little different housing that they're going with and trying to meet everybody's needs. So they did approve that. I know there's a July 9th, there's a roundtable meeting. And is that the Northwest Colorado Innovation Center? I think is the one, right? And then the golf tournament this weekend, June 29th, for scholarships for CNCC. If anyone, they're taking people till Thursday, so you can still sign up. And then I did the vice president of student services. He's leaving, and their finance director is retiring also, so they're going to be having some things. Then I just want to say June 26th, Moffett County School District Job Fair, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with a lot of openings available.
Good job. Thank you. Mr. Looper?
Attended Moffett County Tourism Board. They're starting to work on their 2026 budget. For the county, they're looking at about $175,000, which is up a few thousand from previous years. The raft trip went wonderful that they had on the Yampa. They had representatives from the BLM, the CPW, the Colorado Tourism Office, and Browns Park, and United States Forest Service and Wildlife. And they've put together a video of the entire trip that Colt 45 did for them. So they will have that out at the airport and other places around. Had a chamber meeting. We're in the process of looking for new bookkeepers. We might take it back in-house. It's just a discussion we're looking at right now. We are starting to rent the chamber offices and have talked to Peter and Mindy, and they looked at, and they're going to take a couple of the workstations in the co-workspace. We're hoping by end of July, early August, we'll start moving with that, but we'll see what your guys' plans are. What else? Had an LMD renewal, prepare election document. For the LMD board, the chamber, Jennifer met with the election judge at the county, and she went and presented to the chamber the steps that we need to do to get the LMD renewed on the ballot. Basically, 725 is the paperwork to the county election and coordinator with the Moffett County clerk. And then there's an IGA between the city, the county, and Dinosaur that needs to be signed and back to the clerk and recorder by 8/6. So just so we keep those on our mind. And then we had a ribbon cutting for the Juniper Mountain Hot Springs. So that was kind of cool. I had a Northwest Colorado Innovation Center meeting. We had a report from Region 10 Director, which is out in Montrose. They've been around for 50 years, evidently, so one of the oldest, and basically just looking at their model and how it is in the process of changing, because they normally rely 80% on grants, and that is changing for them, so it just gave us some ideas. Rio Blanco has no representative for the Rural Jumpstart Program, and so the NCIC board, through Sasha Nelson, was approved by the state to take that role for Rio Blanco so that they have opportunities, because we didn't realize Rio Blanco couldn't participate because they didn't have anyone who wanted to oversee the program. So that's another thing we're doing. And then we went over some financial manager policies as far as 1 year, 5 year goals, things with finances. I attended the Rotary District Conference and did a presentation on Rotary District grants. I had a economic development meeting. Lynn Figioni, I think, is the new coal transition navigator. She came and did a presentation to us. And then we presented to the commissioners, want to present to the commissioners, or going to the IRS letter from AG&C to get them to sign off on it. The business plan kickoff is coming up. Talked about that a little bit. We had for the Moffett County Courthouse property, we had a presentation with a lot more developers. Originally, it was pretty much Front Range, and Marketing Alliance came back with developers, Western Slope, Utah, Wyoming, which is what we asked them. So we are in the process of going to be sending that out to them, hopefully early July is the time frame. I had a Regional Transportation Authority meeting. Basically, the main discussion was that we need to have a single message on formation only. Instead of each community talking about various things, we need to have talking points and just saying, all we're doing is formation. And that's what we talk about. And the other emphasis on it is that it's one vote for each community. So it's not Steamboat dominating or Routt County dominated. We elected as part of Craig, each community gets one vote. And so it's equal all the way across the board. What else? I went to the Colorado Solar and Storage Association Symposium in Hayden. Had some interesting presentations on that, one of which was the transmission capacity in Colorado. They've done a complete study across the whole state of where we're short, and Northwest Colorado isn't short at this point. And the other nice thing about it is that, in their opinion, once we go through the transition and add through other, like the gas plant or other things, using up the transmission lines, they don't see any reason why we can't get more and increase the power, and they don't see a problem with that, which I thought was interesting, because I'd heard continually that transmission lines and getting more is a problem. So I just thought that was an interesting viewpoint. What else? They talked about a battery energy storage system, things about his solar taking over ranch land, had a presentation on that. And then I was at the open house with Michelle last night. The only other thing I wanted to add is there's also a House bill they passed, or a state Senate bill and House bill they passed, which gives incentives to teachers and school districts to give them discounted interest rates and down payment help on housing. And it's part of their employment contract. So it's something school districts can look on to help, not with our 8th Street project as well, possibly. I also then this morning was at the county commissioners meeting for the Balloon Festival. We got approved for our permit for our beer garden. And then the commissioners also approved Chip McIntyre taking over for Casey Hume as county sheriff. And they also did a resolution approving a $3.2 million hire of architects for their adventure center, their event center. Thank you. And then I was with the interviews with Andrea, and only other thing is thank you, Ryan. It was a great event. And thank you again, because usually when Whittle the Wood has terrible weather, we have great weather. So I appreciate it.
We do always can, yeah. Anything else? That's it? Well, I want to thank Randy for attending the commissioners today. I've been perched on Zoom for the last day and a half, waiting for my turn to testify in the Excel ERP proceedings with the PUC, as Craig and Moffett has intervened in their, with the PUC process on their ERP. Came down to this morning after sitting there for a day and a half. I got waived on my testimony, but Commissioner Villard did testify and asked her several questions. So we'll see once the commission makes a decision. Again, Excel referred to the commission to their approval for the community assistance we have asked for. So, so that's pretty much those items. The one meeting that Mr. Looper could not attend in the whole community, I covered the Yampa Valley Airport Commission meeting for him. Pretty much the 2025 terminal expansion is in the design-only phase, $2.5 million just for the design and engineer. This year, 2025, the runway, or excuse me, taxiway widening project is in place with the runway 28 blast pad construction. Airport closes every night now at 10 p.m., so all commercial flights and everything has to cease before that. Future projections, 26, 27, Phase 1 terminal expansion. It's a $75 million project. And we will have jetways when that's to the planes, when 3 of them, I think, when that is complete. 2027 design terminal expansion phase 2. 2028 construct terminal expansion phase 2 for $28 million. Now, even though this is in Hayden, it's Yampa Valley Regional is an economic driver for our community as well. The actual employment for 2024 was 12% increase over 23 at 209,747. Current flight schedule, United does 3 round trips a day to Denver, plus Houston Friday and Saturday nights, and LA on Saturday. And Southwest is, I think they're up to 7 days a week right now. But they did draw back to 5 during spring, but back up to 7 days a week. Other great news, Councilmember Looper did mention Casey Hume's retirement from the Sheriff's Department. He was named the Operations Safety and Security Superintendent for the airport. And Tennille Gerber, Moffett County resident, was named Airport Director. So 2 local Moffett County, City of Craig locals that are in leadership positions there. Whittle the Wood Festival, I spent 2 afternoons out there manning Parrot Head's, fundraiser there. Friday, the weather was miserable. There wasn't a lot of people there. Saturday was a little better. I do have to compliment Parks and Rec on the quality of carvers we are attracting now. Some of those were just outstanding. I didn't agree with the judging. I think the crane carving was spectacular, really, the detail. Parks and Rec also the last 2 weekends has handled Triple Crown. Last 2 weekends at Woodbury Park. How many teams?
At 19, right?
19, yeah. 19 teams are in the community, spending money, sales tax revenue for the city. Craig Housing Authority meeting I attended. Fire Board, Fire District meeting I attended. Nothing spectacular there other than normal business. Attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting that Randy gave a good recap of. Strategic planning and outreach to community leaders. That was identified in our April strategic planning session as a goal for council that we meet with our community partners, the hospital, the college, the commissioners, school district, Staff is trying to schedule the time right now. I think our first date's going to be shot down because I've received an email from Dr. Neal that the school district's gone the first half of the month on vacation. So once we get some replies, and we need to probably readdress that. So we are working on that priority that came up during our planning session, and more to come on that. Upcoming, AGNC tomorrow, driving the rifle. One of the subjects for discussion is the collaborative siting for the DOE. And the other interesting subject they're presenting is AI in government. You know, our city manager's already using AI on his documents. And
Communities are coming out with policies regulating how they use AI.
right.
So
So, and then after that, Thursday and Friday, I think Councilmember Looper and I will be in Jolt. Joint Organizations Leading Transition meeting in Rifle as well. So, more meetings to come and more is happening. So with that said, next item on the agenda is public comment. Regular city council meetings and council packets are posted on the city's website to keep city residents informed of city council actions and deliberations that affect the community. Public comment time is set aside for citizens to address the city council on matters within the jurisdiction of the city. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak. The timer will be on the wall there, and Ms. Elliott will be the official timekeeper. You will be notified when you have 30 seconds left, but we will stick to the 3-minute time period. Speakers may not cede their time to another speaker. The city council can only act on matters that are on the agenda, but may place matters brought to their attention at this meeting on future agenda for consideration. If you have documents to present to the city council, please provide a minimum of 8 copies. In an effort to allow for a response to the comment, city employees will prepare a response to public comments provided to the city clerk at least 24 hours prior to a scheduled meeting. You can submit your comments in writing or email. No later than close of the business day before the scheduled meeting. The email address is on the agenda, and with that said, public hearing is now open. Please come up to the mic, identify your name, your address for the record. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Alvin Arnaud. I'm the Thorn that some of you may have heard about. I've been using AI for core requests. It works pretty good. There's an enormous difference between how folks like me versus the beacons of the community are treated in Craig. You will hear from police body cam edited clips that will show why I have no trust in any of you. Y'all keep making me right. Go ahead, Chris.
Jesse. How's it going, man?
Oh, wonderful. How are you?
Good, man.
Good evening and good night.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Good to see you too. So I'm just here to serve you a ticket. You probably know this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What's it for?
So it's for careless driving.
What represents this careless? Speed or
My understanding is the burning out of the vehicle.
And what's it gonna burn out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have the video. So I got the video. I don't see the coal here when you take off.
It doesn't. It builds turbo boost. It ain't gonna blow till
And
you
then
get to
it-
the other side of the street.
Then it does right at the other side of the
Yeah.
street where you were sitting.
A diesel, it ain't gonna smoke right off the bat unless I'm getting on it like I maliciously did at his house. You can look at those 2 videos and be like, if I was maliciously gonna do it and I knew it was him, I would have turned fucking right so my exhaust is pointing toward me.
That's one of your firefighters. You're gonna hear more.
Thank you, sir.
Governor
Evening.
and the City Council. My name's John Newkirk. 633 Ledford Street, in your fantastic housing here in the city. I'm just going to let the continuation of your body cams from your police continue to speak to the indignancy of what they are planning.
They were just yelling and screaming, and then we were sitting on the couch and we're like, what the heck's going on? And then we ran out and they were just in their face. I didn't see them put their hands on the kids or anything like that, but they were like so close.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Kids or they were just
No,
like.
no, they were just like this close to their face.
With that, someone got pushed, right? Is what?
I did not see anybody
Okay,
get
you didn't
pushed.
see
I
that,
did
okay.
not push anybody. I
Okay.
did not see it.
Okay.
That I don't know.
I mean, Jesse said that someone could have gotten pushed, and that's what we're also trying to figure out.
It's probable, I
If
guess.
someone got pushed, why would that have happened?
Because they were on our property talking to our kids.
Okay, like up in their face.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as I told you, we actually were documenting conversation.
Well, he's already GC, he's moved his vehicle, I mean, he's just back and forth, back and forth.
And like I said, unfortunately, when it comes to parking, there's.
Well, yeah, it's a public road, so
Yeah,
there's
so
nothing
it's
to do.
hard on that part. So he is gonna be getting us tickets
For what?
for,
Okay, that's fine.
So,
That's fine, I don't care, I'll pay however much I have to pay, I don't really care.
like I said, it's. Just gotta. Any questions for us?
Obviously, part of the issue is it's gonna keep happening if both ways there's responses that are being solicited, right?
I have him on video saying that he has cameras in his vehicles watching my house. That's the problem.
I understand that.
And that's restraining order.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you can have stuff in your car though.
Right.
So I don't even know how that
I
works.
think it continues.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, sir.
It scares me.
Right, yeah, so that's something we try to go there to the courts, because unfortunately, on our side, as you know, we can't, legally, there's nothing we can do.
No, I know.
But if there's a restraining order from the courts, that gives us more, also, that's an option.
The Notice Police Department is directing every conversation that is occurring.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Public comment. Please come up. Your opportunity to address City Council, sir. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
My name is Christopher Miles Arnault. I live in 643 Parkway, and I'm gonna play more of the story. 2 seconds. Get this on.
Good, how you doing, sir? Okay, great. Awesome. Hey, Jesse, did you guys try to get a restraining order?
No.
Okay. We talked about getting a civil one. Right, and whether it's civil or criminal, I mean, that'll, like I said, that gives us more leeway on certain things, man.
We're so good line for like stopping. I should feel safe in my own home. I can
Right.
pull my leave my house. I'm going on graveyard.
Yeah.
There's no reason for the cars to park there other than to stop us and anything.
So like I said, I'll follow up with the DA and see.
He goes like some neighbors get me in. That one to me looks like it's pointed at the neighbor's house the way they have it angled. That gives you any consolation. I know it doesn't a lot, you know what I mean, but yeah. And it's not pointed directly. If it was, that would make it easier for us, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We have to take all that shit into consideration. I'm not gonna promise nothing, man. You know what I mean? I can't say, yeah, we're gonna do X, Y, or Z right now. If this happens over and over and over and over again, then that builds their case. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's not that we're trying to blow you off, man. You know, we're tired, we're trying to help, but it's stupid the way the laws are written and, you know, getting loopholes and checking boxes and
all of that shit, and that's kind of why we came over. So it's a tough one. It sucks, you know, because part of it's legal, part of it might not be legal. What he's doing, you know, it's like, yeah, shit. Just try and keep yourself under control, so you don't get yourself into trouble, you know. Yeah, no, I mean, for something stupid, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's, that would be different too, because then, like, that, yeah, he would be required to stay away, so like. And even on civil, we can enforce civil protection orders. I would highly recommend it, you know, if all this BS going on and just, yeah. Well, where does it fall in the stalking of point? So there's like several elements that it has to fit, and that's why we came out to look at this. We're looking at any of the statutes that we can, right? Yeah, if it was pointed at your bathroom window,
30 seconds.
like, that would be easy. Those are the things that we have to look at. You do have the right to record from places that you have the legal right to be.
As a young white male in this country nowadays, it seems like say racism, you can stab them, shoot them.
Yeah, Jesse, this isn't over. We just gotta do it a little way.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I know that. Gotta make Trump get happy.
Know that we're not discarding you, you know, we're not blowing you off. We're trying, or else we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're doing what we can to the best of our ability.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good to see you again, Ms. Colson. Our fifth meeting, I think, now. My name is Allison Houston. I live at 643 Barclay Street. I'm a mother of a 10-year-old, and I want to be heard. I know that it may be easier for a lot of people for us to be quiet. I'm not gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna let this go. We are not, this is not slavery days, we're not hanging our head down low and accepting it. You're not gonna call me or my family, I'm not gonna be the N lover in town, he's not gonna be the N word, and my 10-year-old son, he is 10, he is not going to be hurled verbal assaults from children and adults and people that work for the fire department. That's ridiculous.
What can we do going forward when we're here? What can I do going forward? We goes in front of the house and does that shit.
So what's gonna happen today, we're gonna have full case number, we're gonna document everything, from both sides.
Perfect.
I didn't hear your side, I heard what she told me.
Yeah.
But when you guys went over there, there was a confrontation, was that it wasn't just him confronting adults, it was you getting in the kid's face.
I
and
never got in
yes,
the
you
kid's
might have been
face.
pushed.
Because
of that reason.
I never got in a kid's face.
No, he talked to one of the kids
I
and
wasn't
said, hey,
hearing
you're
it on
this is
this
a
side.
He
Mexican
did,
kid.
and I'm sorry.
And then
He
Mexican.
did. Did you get his name? His bearded boyfriend? That's
You won't leave it?
obstruction.
That's obstruction.
That's obstruction.
Okay, but why?
Yeah, Tracy,
Why?
this is my point.
Because you guys are gonna force him to do it, and he was assaulted, and we want to file charges.
Whenever I say anything, or try to get anything wrong, you guys take it, write a
It's
report,
obstruction.
and then
If you guys are looking into a case and we're saying it happened, then he's not giving you the information.
He has a right to not.
Well, then when I see him over here next, and I get his driver's license plate, will you go? Take care of it.
We are gonna document and look into it and see what we have. I'm not just letting it say it's done deal. There's some stuff that we have to look at too to make
And
sure.
you didn't get in his face. She told the kid, hey man, you're welcome to come over to my house.
I was like, whenever.
And you're welcome, when this shit's over, you come over to our house, we're at 643 Barclay. You come over and you apologize, and we'll have a talk man to man. Even though he thinks he's a black guy who uses the N-word all the time, because he's that ignorant, he's like, you know, but he had something to tell you. Come on.
So when we were at the pub, we were riding on the kids were there, by the way. When we were leaving, they screamed, "You don't N-word."
Tracy,
You guys, come on.
have a conversation with him.
This is 20, he says
I'm
he can
going.
say the N-word because it's 2025.
Yeah. The
This
billboard's
is the
going up.
Trump era, baby.
The banner's going up.
That's not okay.
No, it's
And what?
Thank you, Ms. Houston. Public comment, one more. Welcome.
Sebastian Houston. I live at 643 Barclay Street, and this is what happened to me.
My name is Tracy. Nice to meet you, ma'am. I just want to talk to you about what happened on Friday night. You remember? Can you just walk me through start to finish what you remember?
We saw two people right there, and we thought they were our friends. They like hang out with their girlfriends or whatever, like right there. So me and my friend said the N-word because we were being a little dumb, and then we didn't know it was them.
Gotcha.
And then the mom was like, I want to say that to an adult this time. And then my friend was like, and then you said it, and then they said they're gonna come back, and then they came back when we were outside playing basketball, and then like the dad like came up to us and he was like calling us racist and stuff, and then we just like went inside.
Okay. Did he ever like get physical with you, or?
No, he was just got like kind of close.
How close would you say roughly?
There.
Okay. And was he like yelling? Was he like described, I guess, as
talking loud?
Talking loud. Okay, saying you were racist, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys went inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we told them to come inside.
So you told, okay.
I mean, because we went out there and we're like, get inside, because it didn't, yes, it involved them, but he said we don't.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Okay. And it was you and your friend outside?
Yeah.
And he didn't get physical with your friend?
No.
There was nothing physical that happened outside? Okay. All right. Cool.
And you guys, when you guys were out there, did you guys have to ask them to leave your property?
Like multiple times, like
They weren't
to the
leaving?
point where I was gonna call the cops, and then I was like, Jesse, just get inside, this is so stupid. And then we went inside and then went back.
So repeatedly, you guys are asking them to
Oh,
leave
multiple times, like 10 times probably.
And they were in your driveway?
In the driveway, and then they were getting like crazy, and they're like, we're just on the sidewalk, we're not even on your property. And then just, you know, like, just making it to where they were enticing to make it to where we would do something to them. And it was like 9:30 at night, it was super dark, you couldn't tell if he was Hispanic, I mean, he's light skinned anyways.
Gotcha.
The kids that they were talking about are Hispanic, and they're friends, they say that kind of stuff all the time. Nonetheless, you couldn't tell who they were. He had a helmet on, you couldn't tell that he had long hair. It just happens to be the one black person.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, but. But anyways.
Okay, yeah, I think that's all I had for you. Thanks, appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Directed speech from your police officers.
Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none, I would move to item 7 on the agenda, public hearing. We have none scheduled. Item 8, other business. City Attorney Heather Kennan to present for discussion and approval, Resolution Number 11, 2025. A resolution for a lease extension for the Yampa Building master lease with the Chamber of Commerce until December 31st, 2025.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to abstain and step out because I'm the treasurer of the chamber. I don't know if that's a conflict, but
I guess I will disclose I'm a chamber board member, but I don't know. Heather, do you think that's a conflict as well?
So I think it's probably best if you do abstain. Anybody who is on the board or serving in the role such as Councilman Looper, it's better to abstain in that situation, correct?
Okay, let the record show that I am stepping down. Councilwoman Camp, will you take over?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. So this is a resolution that effectively extends the expiration of the Yampa Building lease to December 31st, 2025. I believe it's set to expire in July. A couple of reasons for that. It allows for continuing negotiations with the chamber to be ongoing. And then secondly, my understanding in speaking with finance, it would make it easier to track if we can have lease renewals things of that nature all along the first part of the year so that we're calendaring and doing things such as lease negotiations, executions, renewals, et cetera, at the same time every year. So it's basically just extending the term of the lease from July through the end of December.
Council, are there any other questions for Ms. Cannon? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 11.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Gotchel. We have a second from Councilman Luke Tucker. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, next we've got. Yep.
Okay, item B, City Attorney Heather Cannon to present for discussion and approval, Resolution Number 12, 2025, a resolution approving the appointment of Donald Stearman as special counsel for the City of Craig. Ms. Cannon, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Stearman is actually joining us via Zoom as well. In the past, the Craig Municipal Code and the charter allows for certain circumstances that we hire outside or retain outside counsel. With regard to special appointed counsel for conflict areas, CIRSA actually, in speaking to Sam Light, recommended that we pass a resolution nominating Mr. Stearman for council's formal approval. I've sent over an employment contract to Mr. Stearman that's acceptable to him. I believe Katie should have also forwarded that to you. If not, we'll be submitting that to council for approval. Effectively, the terms of Mr. Stearman are that he'll earn an hourly rate. It's an at-will contract where he's basically just billing attorney hours. There's no benefits involved, anything of that nature. And determination of where we utilize Mr. Stearman is just based out of my office once we evaluate conflicts.
Okay.
So welcome, Mr. Stearman, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Stearman, any comments, questions, or anything?
You asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just said any questions, comments, or council for
No, I don't have any questions. Do you want me to give a little bit of my background? Would that be helpful to the council?
No, not unless you feel you should. I think you're basically on special duty, kind of. So
correct. Yes.
Unless council has any questions or concerns moving forward. Okay, council.
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 12, 2025. Second.
Okay, Councilman Tucker made a motion to approve resolution number 12, 2025, second by Councilman Jackson. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, Mr. Stearman. Okay, item C, City Clerk Katie, in her absence, Mindy Elliott, will present for discussion and approval resolution number 13, 2025, a resolution to amend the City of Craig money purchase plan to become compliant with the Secure Act 2.0 provisions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this came about, the U.S. Congress passed Secure 2.0 Act in December 29 of 2022, which requires specific changes be made to retirement plans, offering a Roth IRA to certain income brackets and age requirements for catch-up. That is required to be adopted by January 1st of 2026. So by passing this resolution, we will be in compliance when January 1st rolls around.
Okay? Just to amend to come in compliance with new regulations. Council, questions? Okay, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I will move that we approve resolution number 13, 2025.
Second.
Councilwoman Camp made a motion to approve resolution number 13, 2025, second by Councilman Looper. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 13, resolution 13 is approved. Finance Director Mindy Elliott to present for discussion and approval acceptance of the 2024 annual audit completed by the Adams Group LLC for the City of Craig.
Good evening again. So you heard Kevin Kimball's presentation from the Adams Group earlier on, and this is just a formality to accept their conclusions for the audit.
Okay?
If you have any additional questions on how that went, just a quick point, Michelle Adams and I, in between, we both were new last year and jumping in right into the budget. We took as many of the Governmental Finance Officer Association classes as we could. We did a lot of immersion series to get up to speed on government accounting because it is vastly different than the private sector. So we had some learning to do and feel a lot more confident when we do this audit, for sure.
Well, just to recap again, there were no significant findings or concerns. I think it was pretty informative. You know, the report we had during presentation. So, Council, any questions for Mindy? Great job again. Council, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion, we accept the Adams Group recommendation for the 2024 annual audit.
Second.
Councilman Looper made a motion to approve the acceptance of the 2024 annual audit, seconded by Councilman Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's accepted. Item 9, discussions. Council discussion and request for future agenda items. Something we're adding to the agenda now to get council more feedback and more saying that we hear you and you want to have items added to the agenda. So bring them up now. Staff will record them. We'll do our best to see if we can pull things together that your request is asking for. So, any discussion? I know we kind of hit you with this. This is brand new. So, next time we can come more and more prepared. So, cool. No other discussion. We'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Ray, Water and Wastewater, to present the Water and Wastewater reports for 2025.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Could you go to the next slide, Mindy? These are kind of out of order. So for the Water Department in May of 2025, we maintained federal and state water quality and reporting requirements, met distribution pressures, flows, fire suppression, and consumer needs. We performed routine maintenance. We made a lot of release changes at Elkhead due to spring runoff, and we participated in the Elkhead Dam annual inspection by Division 6. We produced an average of 2.048 million gallons of drinking water a day. And just to let the council know that we do have some ongoing activities that I'll report on in subsequent months, but we have the water service line material identifications going on. So you've probably seen Badger daylighting out, potholing, and we have to have water staff with them at all times we have to both positively identify the material. And so that work is going to be occurring in CDOT right-of-way starting on tomorrow. And so we have a CDOT permit and traffic control plans are filed. So you may hear something in the community about that. I know it's a little bit disruptive to people. So if you hear something, this is required that we do this. And the other thing that we have actively going on is 10th Street is closed right now for the 10th Street water line replacement. Anybody that uses that for routine travel has probably already seen that, but that project is just getting started, but is going relatively well. So I think we'll be on schedule to have that. The goal is to have it all completed, including the Fortification Creek crossing, by the time school is back in session. And if you can go back to that first one you did, Mindy, thank you. So then as far as some of the statistics for May, we had 88 line locates, flushed 4 hydrants, worked 5 valves, had 37 turn-on, turn-offs, still had a couple upgrade and frozen meters, and we replaced 1 hydrant. So 3 hydrants so far this year have been replaced. And if we can go on to wastewater, again, we met state and federal regulations, we performed our weekly, monthly maintenance, and we treated 870,000 gallons a day of wastewater on average, received and treated 6,400 gallons of hauled waste. We're actively drawing the biosolids for land application in the future. Collection system work included 44 hours to perform the 88 locates, also mentioned in the water report. 51 hours to hydraulically clean 3.6 miles of sewer main as part of our annual program, and 16 hours for applying root treatment chemicals in the sewer system to help mitigate roots. And we had on the collection system corrective actions. We received 2 backup complaints, one at 1413 Yamp Avenue and one at 1067 School Street. In both instances, we found the city main was flowing properly. It was cleaned as just for good measure to ensure that we had no problems in the city main, and determined to be a homeowner's issue in both cases. We assisted other departments, plumbers, contractors as needed, and analyzed Maybell's wastewater plant samples. So on the next slide is this new report that I've shown a couple times now that shows what sewer mains were cleaned, hydraulically cleaned, and I see the title is missing from this, but so we spent 51 hours cleaning the 3.6 miles out of part of our annual cleaning program. And on the next slide, we have the root treatment report. So 16 hours, and to apply that root treatment, you can see we got a few sections of line done, and we have a lot more to do this year. So,
what does that entail? What do you do?
So we apply a mixture of diclofenac and metam sodium. It has to be applied by a licensed applicator, which we have on staff, and so it foams in the pipe and coats the pipe with this mixture of clay and the root treatment chemicals, and so that will stop the roots from growing and kill off the ones that are dangling in there. So the roots get through the joints in the pipe, a lot of old clay pipe or any imperfections in the pipe, and so this mixture of clay and the root treatment chemical sticks to it and then helps to stop it from growing and get rid of them eventually.
I do have to commend your staff there, the School Street backup issue, you know, and you say, oh, it was the homeowner's issue. This was way up in his line, you know, and he's called a couple different times, and you guys came out and took care of, you know, our responsibility, but definitely was the homeowner, so. So, just believe, you know. Cool.
Carl, have you, those fire hydrants that weren't working, did you ever hear anything on those or look into that further? There was fire hydrants not our responsibility, that was somebody else's
At the mall.
at the mall? That were-
Yeah, I've got to work with a fire company on that, and I've got to find that old CAD-based map that we have.
I gotcha.
So we need to update that. That was part of the strategic planning, and it is on my agenda
Radar.
still. Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
And we are preparing, since Carl brought up the strategic plan again, an update come next month too. So April, 3-month quarterly update. So we will be, the plan is evolving and it's not going to sit on the shelf. So that was our fear. So cool. All right. Thanks. Questions, Carl? No? For Carl? Hearing none? Ms. Elliott, you're up again.
Good evening again. Your council packets included the financials through the end of May, so we'll run through those real quick. The first one is the countywide sales tax, and this is through April sales. Compared to 2024 actuals, we are still down 32,000, which is roughly 5%. And compared to 2025 budget, also down 38,000, just under 6%. The city sales tax, compared to 2024 actuals through April, we are up 75,000, just a little over 2.5%. And compared to 2025 budget, we're up 155,000, just a little over 5.5%. The next slide is the city tax graph compared from January of April from 2025 to 2024. Most categories for this month or through this month's sales, they were pretty even compared to the prior period. Marijuana sales do continue to be above the 2024 actuals.
How do you explain that one?
I'm not sure because it's down statewide, but we're seeing.
I mean, that's triple.
It is.
Yeah.
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 Some of that is.
One of the shops closing on top of each.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. Water sales, so this is through May. Compared to 2024 actuals, we're up over 101,000, which is 8.33%. And compared to 2025 budget, we're up 40,000, just a little over 3.17%. Wastewater through May compared to 2024 actuals, we're up 158,000, which is an increase of 16%. And compared to 2025 budget, we're up 10,440, which is just a little less than 1%. Construction dumpsters compared to 2024 actuals, we're down about 4,300, which is about 4.5%. And compared to 2025 budget, we are up 3,400, just shy of 4%. Collection fees through, for 2024 actuals, over 64,000 up, which is 18.37%. And then compared to 2025 budget, we are up 29,000, a little over 7.61%. And, landfill fees, compared to 2024 actuals, we're up 13,000, just 3.89%. That's also the same compared to 2025 budget. Next slides are the fund revenue. So in the general fund, our beginning balance was $23,501,906. Through May, we've added revenues of $5,477,637. Expenditures of $4,964,447, and capital expenditures of $1,281,364, leaving us with an ending fund balance through the end of May of $22,733,732.
And Mindy, I didn't have a chance to thoroughly look at this until today, and I noted that within the revenue category under intergovernmental, which reflects the grant reimbursements, we have 1.5% on a $10 million budget for grant reimbursements, and I'm sure we have more reimbursements sitting out there that haven't been received yet.
That would be correct. There's still from the water diversion, those are still, I think we're waiting on some of those.
But that's a huge, that's the second largest category in our revenue
That
budget.
is correct. You see some of it applies to like the industrial park, which we have not incurred any expense on that yet for reimbursement, but yeah, it is a huge chunk that we're
Yeah, some of it's
missing out on.
project timing, I realize that, but, yeah.
Yeah, so as Peter alluded, the next slides have the breakout of the revenue by category, so you can kind of see where those are situated. The next fund is the Capital Projects Fund. So our beginning fund balance was $520,848. We have revenues of $108,358, expenditures of $16,663 for an ending fund balance at the end of May of $612,542. The next fund is the museum fund. Beginning fund balance is $515,698. We've added revenues of $431,814, expenditures of $228,506 for an ending fund balance of $719,006. In your summary sheets, I do have a quick note about the additional 3% marijuana tax and how much that's yielded each month. So through the April sales, we ended, for April, it was $5,595.34 for the museum and the library. I also did want to point out, Mr. Davidson and Mr. Knowles from the museum reviewed the ballot that was initially passed, and we ran it through Heather, and we did find out we are capped at 100,000. We cannot collect anything above that. We're projecting, and we're probably going to hit that cap in August. So when this ballot goes back to the voters in November, they may want to look at increasing that amount so that we are able to continue to keep collecting on it throughout the year.
Mindy, you said it was $5,595.34 for April?
Correct.
So it was the same both months?
Each one will get, so on that, so the January, it was 5,726. February's was 5,720. March was 6,123, and then for April, it was the 5,595.
Thank you. Sorry, I was reading that wrong.
Yeah, no problem. So they have, and that's for each one, so the museum got that amount and the library.
Thank you.
So that's why, like I said, we'll hit that cap.
So it's not divided, you're not dividing that, that's 5,000 for each one.
Yeah, so that's why we're projecting hitting that cap in August, because it's averaging around 12,000 per month in additional. Which also is reflective in the sales tax that we've seen of marijuana has.
We have questions from the library that they aren't receiving the fund, or have we checked into that?
So we issue a check to Moffett County Finance as soon as we get the numbers finalized. And we have issued all the way through the months that we have reported on here. The May sales, those they closed out, they were due on the 20th, so we'll get that finalized and then that check will go out.
And they canceled the library board meeting last week, so I was not able to connect with
Okay.
Keisha. But I'll provide an update next month.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, next is the water fund. Beginning balance, $7,439,462. Added revenues of $1,532,451. Expenditures of $1,634.13 for an ending fund balance end of May of $7,337,901.
Indy, question? Senior water discount program.
Yes.
What's the status?
So we're reviewing those, beginning of July, we're going to go through, validate, the people meet the requirements. Then we have to set up a discount, line item in the billing software, so those will be reflected on, for the July usage they'll get the bill the beginning of August.
And how many people?
The last I looked, we were about 171 people,
And our limit is,
340.
right, so there's still room for people.
That's true.
Yeah, and we'll take people up until you know, all the way through. Like I said, these will have to renew at the beginning of January. It'll be easier process at that point in time. We'll have, I've created a spreadsheet where we can search by address and make sure that people are still qualified at that point in time. But so each January, people will have to refill out the application, but as long as they've been on it before, we will have their documentation. You know, obviously, the majority of what we've received are the people that are 65 and older and have been in town for 10 years.
So a lot of work setting that up, so.
There was an option for low income as well, correct?
There is,
Right.
we've not received a lot. And I'm not sure if that's due to that the utility has to be in
That person's
name. But so yeah, I would say 95% of it has been the 65 and older category.
Still taking applications, so.
Yes. All right, next is the wastewater fund. Beginning balance, $3,839,919. Added revenues of $1,237,199. Expenditures of $654,152 for an ending fund balance of $4,422,966. Our solid waste fund, beginning fund balance, $1,831,102. Added revenues of $913,171. Expenditures of $722,067. And ending fund balance of $2,022,206. Next is the medical benefits fund, beginning fund balance of $469,449. Revenues of $1,173,924. Expenditures of $1,201,706. Ending fund balance of $441,667. And then our housing authority fund, beginning fund balance $760,654. Revenues of $3,794. Expenditures of $340,618. And an ending fund balance of $423,830. The Urban Renewal Authority, beginning fund balance $167,766. Revenues of $241, expenditures of $296, and an ending fund balance of $167,711. The next slide is Colo Trust. As of the end of May, our ending balance in there is $30,139,490.07. And in CSAFE through the end of May, balance is $218,462. And then the remaining sheets in your slide deck are the capital projects and where those stand through the end of May. And if you have any questions?
So, questions? We're good. Still like the sheet here, so
Yeah.
keep up the good work on that.
Please.
All right, moving on, item 11, closing remarks and informational items. Council, anything?
Just one other thing I was gonna mention, another meeting. We were scheduled to have an ex officio meeting for the LMD board at some point, and I think we discussed that, and it was gonna be scheduled, and then we didn't end up
Nothing ever
scheduling.
happened.
I mean, I feel like with that coming up on the ballot, it would probably be good to have that group get together and kind of get an update and, just kind of catch
Right.
up on.
I had originally
on
thought we're gonna schedule something for late June, early
May or
July.
June, yeah, and then I think there were a lot of
And-
scheduling
and-
conflicts and.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It'd have to be this next month, right? Early?
Yeah, have to be by July, no later than early July.
Well,
Got to come up with an IGA that's approved by each board.
It seems to me we should get the leadership from each board, Dinosaur, the county, the city of Craig together to decide on what dates we're looking at and get something scheduled for that meeting.
another workshop we'll need. So, okay,
I
add
did-
that to our list.
I did have a couple things, if I could go back
Okay,
kind of like Andrea did to request for future agenda items. Two things. One thing that came to us at our last meeting was the Remington fire and the displaced families. So potentially just an update from Peter in his next report on those families and if they were able to find housing. And then I read on that magical Facebook that the mall is under new ownership, so potentially reaching out to that person and seeing if they could provide an update to council.
anything else, council? Hearing none, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Looper made a motion to adjourn, second by Councilwoman Camp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.